Now that we have a basic layout for our welcome view, we have all this fake info in here, and we're going to put more fake info in, but I want it to be more dynamic so that we can see different images and stuff like that instead of just the one, because right now that's what we're operating on. So I want some posts to go in there, and I want some users and just real information, or as real as we can get that's actually not quite real. I want to create the resource for this so that we can start working with these posts that we have. We come to the terminal. I'm going to go ahead, open that up. Go ahead and clear that out. What I want to do is I'll create a model, and it will be the post model. We'll need a migration, a factory, and even though we're not using it yet, we can make a controller, make it resourceful. And for now, that should be good. Let's go to this and see what we have. So we have our post controller set up, and it has our post and everything in here. We have our model, we have our database, we have a factory migration. So let's start with the database so that we can seed some data to it. Here I'm going to do the relationship to the user. We'll just say user ID. That'll be the name of the column. We'll say that it is constrained. And then if we delete the post, then it will cascade on delete. If we delete the user, their post will be deleted as well. So then we have a table for the title. And for the title, I don't really want it to be too long. We'll just say string. This will be for the body. And for the body, I am going to use text. As I said, we're going to be using TinyMCE, and that's what we're going to use here. And they just basically put it in a string. So we'll just do it that way. Text body. And then we also need the strings for the image. Why did I delete that? We'll say image. And what I want to do is I want to make the image nullable, because we are going to have a way to show temporary images. And because those images won't necessarily need to have a value in the image field in order to be able to display them. So I'm going to make them nullable. The last thing I want to do is make a field for the minutes read. We'll do unsigned big integer min read. And that'll just make sure that the numbers start from 0. We won't be able to do negative, and they'll go up to a certain amount. We'll handle the validation for that later, but for now, this is good. Before we do the post factory, I want to do the model. We'll make some fillable fields. And I'm going to open this up so that we have some space. The first one will be title, body, image, min, read. This should be protected. I really need to pay more attention to what my error is telling me. We have our protected fillable fields, and that's what we'll be able to put into the database. The other thing that I want to do is I want to create the relationship to the user. And this is going to be this belongs to user. As a brief description, all we're doing is adding the fields that we want to fill in. We didn't do user ID because any call that we make to these posts are going to be from the user. The user can create user whatever, and it'll automatically insert the user ID into that field. We don't have to put it in our fillable field here. Now, the relationship is that this post belongs to the user. Let's go and do the inverse on the user model so that we can have that as well. We can say this has many posts. A user has many posts. Let's go ahead and add the return types and the return tags. Now our models are good for now. We can close them out, and we can come to the factory and add our fields to the factory. Now, as far as the factory is concerned, we'll start off with the title. And then we'll say fake sentence. These are just coming from Faker. This is already within Laravel, so we can use it. For the body, I am going to say body equals fake paragraphs. No, I am going to do paragraph, and then I'm going to do fake number between 5 and 10. So this will just mean that the paragraphs are going to be anywhere between 5 and 10 sentences. Now for the image, what I want to do is I am going to create this property. And again, this is just going to be temporary. These again are images that are coming from Pixabay. And I did forget to put this in your package for the images and stuff. So I'm going to make sure to create a file to have these in there so that you have them too, and you can stay up to date with how we're doing this. As far as image, now what we can do here is use Faker. And then we can say random element, and then the array will be images. That's the array that we just created the property. And for the min red, we'll just say fake number between, we'll just say 1 and, I don't know, 59, between 1 minute and 59 minutes. And now we can come to the seeder, and now we can call that. So I'm going to get rid of the temporary one that's here. I'm going to uncomment that out. We'll say 20 users, and then each user will have posts, and we can say, I don't know, maybe each user has 10 posts. I think that'll be good. Let's go ahead and now run this just to see if we're going to get any errors or just make sure we're good to go. So PHP artisan migrate seed. That was very quick. Let's check our database and see how we did. Now I am using Beekeeper Studio. I have already set this up in the back end. Again, make sure you have all of this stuff set up beforehand. This way things will be a lot smoother as we go along. As you can see, we have our users in here. Each of them have a name. This is the fake one that I just created. I created in the first episode just to kind of test out adding images and stuff like that. I didn't delete the user, but if we go to posts now, you can see we have the ID, the user ID, the title, body, image. We have our image field here. We have our minutes read, and then we have the other basic created at updated fields in here. So now this is something that we can use to display our posts. Now, if we take a look at our welcome view here and what we essentially have a featured post, right? What I want to do is I want to set this up so that we just randomize a list of posts. We pull one, and that one will be for the featured post. And then all the other posts we can use here and call them out individually. They're not randomized, but they're different shapes and sizes and stuff like that. I am going to do this a little bit annoyingly, right? We're going to do that. And then get those to display up here. Let's first start with the featured post and we'll get that sorted. We'll come over here, we'll go back to our welcome controller. And how are we going to do this? Well, why don't we create a variable and we'll call them posts. This way we don't have to make the call to posts more than once. We'll say post, we'll say in random order, which is just a Laravel helper to allow us to randomize the list. And then we'll say get. For our properties that we can bring in, I am going to call this featured post. This is just going to be for the first initial one. We'll say post equals, or featured post equals posts. And now we can use a Laravel helper called take, and then we can just take one. So that'll be any random one can be our featured post. Now I do need to import the post up here. We can go to our welcome file and add that. I'm going to close these along the way because we don't need them. We'll go to resources, JS, pages, welcome. Now we do have a featured post coming in, and each of the posts that we have are going to have certain characteristics about it. Because we're using TypeScript, we can define what that post item looks like, what properties make it up, and we can create a type for it to be acknowledged throughout the rest of the project. But before we get that far, I'm going to create a type called post type. And I'm going to set that to, we'll have an ID, and that ID will have a number. And then after the number, we can put title because all of the posts will have a title. And I'm just going to copy and paste that a few times. We have a title, body, image, min red, and min red is actually going to be a number. And we're actually going to have a user included with that. But remember, I showed you in the previous episode that the default installation with the starter kits in Laravel using TypeScript already has something defined here. We can actually use that. We'll say user, and then we can just import the user interface from that types folder. So we have that here. We have the post type defined, and everything about the post individually, we have that defined. We can create another type to include in this welcome component. We'll say type, welcome, types, or welcome props equals. And then we can include that featured post. Now that featured post is going to be of type post type. And because we are pulling it in from an array of information, it is actually going to be in an array. We're going to grab the first one from that basically. And now we can also get rid of this thing. And we can bring it up here and have that be part of our welcome props. We can get rid of this. And I'll just say welcome props. No error there. And I see something yelling at me. I just don't know where it is. But whatever it is, it shouldn't be too crazy. Oh yeah, font bold and font normal. This template, it has errors because I think Tailwind has changed somewhere along the way. So I'm just going to leave the first one here. I'm going to get rid of this because it is twice. And this one I'm going to leave font bold, font normal because it doesn't seem to change too much of anything. And that should be good. Now we have that. We can go ahead back up top to the first one, which will be under the navigation. This is the nav, so this should be the first one here. Now this first A tag in here is going to be that image. I want to change this to a link, even though we don't have anywhere to put it yet. But the image we are going to change up. And temporarily, I am going to put some curly brackets here and some backticks. Because remember, we just seeded the database with a bunch of images. I am going to just go ahead and grab everything on this line from here to here. And then here, I'm going to put a $sign because we're going to use the featured, what did I call this? I call this, I forgot to add it here. We'll do featured post, and then we can use that here. For this image, we're going to do featured post. Dot image. And did I not put that up there? Sorry. I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm getting tired. Featured. This is going to be an array, so it's 0.image. Now we can get rid of this link to the external that we had. I got rid of too much. Get rid of that so that we have the styling. And then here I can do, for the alt, featured post 0, title. Let's just first make sure that we're seeing that image. Okay, good. So this is that first image. And if you hover, we got that cool little thing there. Refresh, refresh, refresh. And as you can see, it's always a different image. We'll deal with some of this a bit later. That's what it looks like. Go ahead, refresh it. And leave it at that. We're going to put some validation when we set up the file pond to help us kind of keep we've got some things going on to deal with the image sizing, but for now, this is where we are. Let's go ahead and add the rest of the information so that we can finish out this featured post. And let me close this. Getting started, this is going to be the title. And let me copy this so I don't have to keep typing it out. And this is going to be the body. We can get rid of that. Again, I didn't do anything with the avatars. The template that we're using uses the avatars from Pravatar, i.pravatar, and it's just pulling in those little images. So I'll leave that for now. Now we can do the name of that user. And here we'll say user name. And for the minutes read, minutes read. That should be everything from that first featured post. This tippy content, I forgot to remove that, but it's not really hurting anything. So I'm going to leave it like that. We can do here. Let me grab it from here. The username for that user. Let's just make sure we're getting that. Refresh, and I have some sort of error. Let's go and see. Name has to be in what I just put in. You know, I think when I seeded the database, I had already possibly seeded some users. So I'm going to reseed the database and see if we're still getting that. We'll do fresh seed. This way, all of the information will be brand new. So let's see what we have here. Oh, no, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. We are not including the user in the post controller. We're saying that, yeah, there's a user, but we're not in the post controller, in the welcome controller. We're bringing in these posts, but we have an associated user with them. But we could leave it here and bring in the user into this function, but we're going to be putting posts in a lot of different pages, and all those posts are going to include a user. In this instance, what I would prefer to do is in the post model, bring in that user, and this way we'll just eager load it with that post. I am going to go ahead and include that user with the post so that every time we load up a post, that user is included. So that should fix that little weirdness that I had going on. Go ahead, refresh it. Now you can see we have the username, and let's go fix what I might have broken before. Actually, I'll just close that for now. So let's continue on with this. Didn't I tell you there would be mistakes? Anywho, so now this should be good to put back in here. And then for the min read, we're going to add that where this 5 is, and we'll say min read so that we get the actual time. Okay, so it's 6 minutes read. We have our username, and if in the event these don't show up, then that username will show up. Now let's go and do the same thing for the rest of these posts so that we can have more posts display here. Now, since we're already calling our post function or our post property, we can just do that through here. So we'll say featured posts, we'll put posts, and posts will equal posts. And now we can bring this into that component. And we'll also say that this is a post type with it being an array. Let's go ahead and also bring that down here too. And now that everything's defined, it makes it a lot easier for us to just use that type for those posts. Now that we have them, we can just start working on them in here. I am going to go down to the nav, and I'm going to do the first one, and then I'm going to pause the video, do them all, then come back and show you so that you don't have to watch me do all of them. Let me close this so I have a little bit of space. And now we can say This one is a link. The source will be just what it is up here. And now this one will be posts. We'll say one image, and I need my closing brackets on here. We have the getting started. We can put that post title here as well. This will just be body. Post user name. Post min red. And let's go ahead and add this also to the name of the avatar. Let's just check it really quick just to make sure I didn't flub that up. This is our featured, and then this is going to be the first one. And as you can see, we have the name, we have the 25-minute read, title, everything is good. I'm going to go ahead, do all of the rest of these, and then I'll come back. I have gone ahead and done all of these, and we have 8 posts here, right? So let's go and check the browser. Refresh, and now all of our images are for the most part unique, and we have titles, the names, everything is updated based on what we have coming in from the database instead of what we manually put in. As you can imagine, that took forever. And it's not based on how much you can type, how fast you can type, or whatever it is. It's based on that we have individual things. A huge draw to React really is to be able to componentize things. Before we do the post, I want to do the very, very simple stuff, which is to separate out the footer and this little thing here. If you guys decide that you actually do want to do the mail-in, then we'll have this in its own component and we can use it anywhere. And we are going to use it, I think, in one more place. So it does make sense to componentize this now. So we're going to do the extras now. So let's go ahead and really just start with the subscription form because that's something that we can pull out quite easily. I am going to go over to our tree over here and I'm going to create another folder and I'm going to call it custom. And then all I'm going to do here is add another file and I'll call it subscription.tsx. Because I have the snippet, it makes it really easy and that's not the one I wanted, but bygones. So it'll be this one. Go ahead and just make that a little bit bigger. And we're not going to have any props or anything for this, so we don't really need to do anything for that. But what I'm going to do here is I am going to snag it from here because we can always get rid of. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it from here and then we'll make it empty. Go back up here and we'll go ahead and paste them here. We'll just make these empty or fragments. I don't see anything glaring. That's a problem. But again, it's that font normal, font bold thing there. So let's go ahead and now bring this. And actually, I want to name this subscription form. Save that. And now we can just import it in that welcome view. We don't have any properties to pass through. So now we can just go ahead and import that. Go up top and let's make sure that we didn't break anything. Okay, great. So our subscription form is still here where it's supposed to be. Let's go ahead and grab this footer thing because that'll be another easy one to do. And that one is coming from here. I'm actually going to copy this one out just so I don't lose it. Here, we can just say footer.tsx. And again, we're not importing anything, so we won't have to deal with any props. Let's come back down here and let's import it into our welcome view. That was imported up top here, and that should still be there as well. Okay, great. We still have our footer and our subscription and everything is good. And because these are different, I want to create one component for the featured component, and we can pull that out from here. So let's go ahead and work on that one first. Now, before we do that, we are already at a point where we're going to be using this post type in different parts of our pages and different components and various things like that. What we can do is now we can extract this post type so that it's accessible to any of the pages or components that we need. I'm going to create a new type and I'm going to put it in a custom folder and I'll say types.ts. And I'll go ahead, paste that here. We're going to have to export that so that we can use it anywhere. And we also need to import this user interface that's coming in from the default installation. From our welcome, let's first get rid of this. And actually we can get rid of this user up here too, because we're no longer using it in here. We're using it from our new type. Go ahead, import that. And so now all that should be good. Let's just double check and make sure I didn't break anything by doing that. We still have our posts. Let's just double check, no errors, and I don't see any. Nope, we should be good. So let's go ahead and now extract this into its own component. So I'm going to come down here and find that component. It should be under the nav right here. And let's see where we need to grab it. I believe we need to grab it from here. I am going to take these and I'm just going to put featured here just so I don't forget where it is. And we're going to make the component. And I am going to create another folder called posts. And then this will be featured.tsx. Featured post.tsx. Now I'll just go ahead and paste that in. A couple of things we have in here. We know we're going to have properties. And if we're going to have properties, then we should probably create a props type for this. I'm going to come up here. And this is something that I just generally have appreciated doing. It's not something mandatory, but if you're using TypeScript, then you might as well use types. We'll say type featured post props equals. What are we getting in here? Well, we're going to get one specific post. I'll just say post type, and then we can import that up top. This featured post, we can now pass in here, and we can use that featured post props. A couple of things we can do in here. First, we need to import this link from Inertia React. And now that we have that as a post, we can now change this to post. What I'm going to do is before we do that, we need to import this, right? Because the types aren't going to be recognized, so we're going to get errors in here. So let's bring this in and figure out what we need to put here. Featured post. So that was important. And as you can see, if you take a look, now that I'm on it, it is underlined because we're missing that property. We're missing it, but it is required. So in here, we can do post equals featured post. And now we can just grab that first one because it's an array. And now because it's an array, it's coming in here as an array. But now that we're passing it to the post, we can pass in the array so that it's just one of the, the first one in the actual array. Now we shouldn't get an error here. And if we go back to that featured post component, we're not getting our error here. And now here, we don't need to say post 0 because now it's just the post. Now we can just get rid of all of these and this will all be post. Save that and let's continue. My fingers aren't working very well, so you have to bear with me with some of the things I have going on. Post, username, post, username, post, in red. We managed to make a component without any errors. Let's go check our browser, make sure. So go ahead, refresh this. As you can see, our featured post is here and still working accordingly. Let's go back to the file. Our featured post is done. We can come back to welcome and clean up anything that we have coming in from that featured post that could be an issue, and it shouldn't because we extracted stuff already. What about the other posts? Well, they're all different sizes. We are going to be using a component for that, but what I want to do is just make a broad component just to house all of them so that we can really clean up this file here. We'll come down here, and this is where they all start. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where all of them are. And we can, for now, just grab them and put them all into one component. I am going to back up top here. I am going to come over here and I'm going to create another file and I'm going to call it welcome posts. Paste those all in there. We're going to have the same sort of situation. We're going to pass in some posts and then we're going to need the type. So we'll do type welcome posts props equals. And here we can just say posts and it'll be post type array. Let's pass them into the component as props. Let's go and import that into the welcome view before we start filling anything in. Should have imported it. It'll be this, and then this should just be posts. Let's go up top, make sure we have everything out of here that we don't need. Now we can go to that welcome post and start passing in that information. This is going to be link. Go ahead and import that. And since we use posts previously, we don't have to change any of that in here as of now. That should be good. So let's check the browser and make sure we're still good there. Refresh. So now we have all of the other posts. We've managed to add some components to this so that we can have different things. And now we're at a good spot to move forward. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.